All right, great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Swampscott School Committee regular session meeting for Thursday, June 22nd. We are at Swampscott High School. And I call the meeting to order. And if you are able, please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Such a quiet building now that school is.
Sure is.
Out for the summer. As you can see, we're down a couple of committee members this evening, as they have other things going on, both Karen and Amy. So we will muddle through in their absence. So committee announcements. Suzanne, do you have any?
I want to thank Miss O and Tammy Faye and the town for the June 19th celebration. It was great, and I highly recommend that you guys go on the town website and you go to the YouTube video of that day. And starting at like minute 13 is Reverend Andre Bennett. He's like the Reverend of the Zion Church in Lynn. He gave this speech that I think everyone should hear. It was phenomenal. It was just the whole theme was like, what does freedom mean to you? And he talked about, you know, we're not free until we're all free, kind of theme. And it was so moving. It was just like everyone should watch it. And then our kids were awesome. There was a kid from the high school named Aiden Tahita Ubre. He got up and he played the electric guitar and he sang like a song about freedom. Like, it was so brave. It was crazy. And then 5 kids. There was like a elementary school kid, a second grader, 3 high schoolers, and a 5th grader. They all got up. They identified either from Boston, Nigeria, or Haiti. And they read an Amanda Goran poem, the one that's like Ode to O, or O to Ode. They were so brave. They were like just so good, and it was just the whole thing was really moving. And I was happy to see the second grader. I think his name was Kirsten. He had Mrs. Lever. Mrs. Lever must have been his teacher. She was there with him. It was just really sweet to see that support. And I was sad it wasn't more well attended. It's just hard. I know it's like the time of the year and everything, but you know, I know they plan to have it on a day right after school so that kids can go. And there were kids and families, but
The difference Miss O and I were talking about is that in the past it was on an early release day.
yeah.
And we couldn't do it on an early release day because that would have been Friday and town hall is closed
Yeah.
on Fridays. So Miss O and I have debriefed that moving forward next year, we really have to figure out a way to do it on an early release day because the transportation becomes an issue.
Right.
And it's prohibitive, and we don't want that for anybody.
Yeah, so quite a few of the METCO students were there. I mean, they were supporting each other for sure, but it was just like somehow, I mean, it's for everyone. It was so moving. Me as just a white woman sitting there listening to some stuff too, but I just think it's so important, and it just got me thinking about METCO so much more. And I saw an article today, the METCO Monday message, which, you know, I read on Thursday, but Marblehead did, all the kids that got invited to go to the Marblehead school system, I guess all the families, Marblehead bused them all from Roxbury, from Nubian Square, right? The METCO headquarters. They took a bus to Marblehead. They walked around the schools with their families. They talked to the principals, the superintendent, whatever, and then they went back to, you know, they just had a day sort of to meet and greet and walk around, and all of them accepted to go to that school system. I don't know, I just thought like we should really think about stuff like that, because I don't know, I just feel so disconnected sometimes.
We did have our newly enrolled families come to the Hype Day this year.
Yeah.
Which was different. So the families came, the kids came. I like that idea very much.
It was just kind of a cool idea, like just to come see the school district or see what we have to offer, or sort of see. I mean, it's going to be so impressive when they come in 24 and they walk through that new building, right? But even, I don't know, it's just.
I agree. If we do it we do move ups, we do all that. We should have.
Yeah, it's just sort of like it's sort of. I mean, I think that we have to actively try to engage that community more. I know they want to be engaged more. Like when I go to those PCO meetings, like people definitely, I mean, everyone has time and everyone's busy, or, you know, time issues and busyness and whatever, but they do want to engage. And I got to go out to dinner with the METCO family the other night after the prom pictures were taken, you know. It was just so much fun just to sit and, I don't know, just a missed opportunity. Anyway, that whole day, I was impressed with our kids, and just that whole night, and I just was making a plug for listening to Reverend Andre's speech for sure. So
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. John?
Nothing tonight, Glenn.
Okay. I don't have anything either, so why don't we just swing to the superintendent's reporting?
Thank you so much. So the first item on the agenda is something we touched on briefly at the last meeting, but is something that has truly broken my heart. You know, mistakes happen. It's how you handle those mistakes and you make up for those mistakes that matters. And there were 5 students who for some reason did not make it into the program for the senior awards night. I do want to tell the committee and tell anybody watching that there was a very lengthy debrief or after-action meeting that occurred last week, and that there are fail-safes in place moving forward. I was disheartened that I didn't find out about this mistake. Senior awards night was on a Tuesday, graduation was on a Sunday. I didn't find out about it until Monday. And we have straightened out that never happening again. But I think we missed a real opportunity to honor these kids at graduation.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been done. We did invite them here tonight, but as all seniors, they either have other things going on or they're, you know, done with us, quite frankly. I am heartbroken, and my heartfelt apologies to the students and to their families, because you only have one senior awards banquet, and to be recognized for their achievements publicly and for that to be overlooked, I apologize on behalf of the high school and on behalf of the district. As I said, they were unable to attend, so I'd like to just recognize these students verbally.
Absolutely.
And talk about the honors and achievements and awards that they would have received. We have Maharita Pakulska. She was an honor graduate. She would have had a service medal, the Sarah Beth Milberg Charitable Foundation Scholarship, and the Massachusetts State Seal of Biliteracy with Distinction. I should say that we've rerun programs where these honors are noted, and those students did get programs where they're noted. It's still not the same. None of what we're doing makes up for the mistakes that were made, and I recognize that, and I can't apologize enough. We have Tessa Prendergast, Superior Achievement in AP Art History, Honor Graduate and National Honor Society. Sophia Qureshi, SHS Band Directors Award, Service Medal, Honor Graduate, and National Honor Society. We have Anna Ratner, Honor Graduate and National Honor Society. And we have May Raymond, an Honor Graduate, National Honor Society, DECA Emerging Leader Honor Award, and the Massachusetts State Seal of Biliteracy Award. I'd like to give them a round of applause for their achievements. I don't know if the committee has anything to add to that.
John? Suzanne?
Congratulations to those students.
Yeah. I'll just say, obviously, congratulations to the students. Yeah, again, I'll reiterate your words, heartfelt apologies. It's too bad, and it's not a shining moment for the district. I'm very happy that at least we are confident this will not happen again, and procedures put in place. But to the families, please accept our apologies, our heartfelt congratulations as you move on to the next endeavor in your studies or whatever you're going to do leaving Swampscott High School.
Thanks. The next item on the agenda is at our last meeting, we recognized retiring teachers, and tonight I'm going to ask Ms. Mackey Knowles to recognize a retiring administrator. Do you want
Do you want me to go over there?
No, that's perfect.
Great. So tonight we're here to honor Vlad Akim. Vlad's worked for Swampscott Public Schools for 21 years, and he's been in the technology department that entire time. So a little bit about Vlad. If you ask any of our staff members about Vlad, the words consistently came up: kind, helpful, friendly. It's who he is to the core. He never fails to greet you when you walk in. He asks you about your day, your family, some personal connection that you have with him. He is always known for smiling. He magically appears when you say his name. His uncanny ability to appear in front of people is because he constantly watches for tickets to come in, because that's his job, and then he immediately goes to help staff. I often joke that if you say his name 3 times in a mirror, he will appear. Vlad loves solving the problems and making things work. His day starts each morning with checking the school network from his house so he can prepare for outages and alert us and fix any issues before people get in for the day. He aims to make sure we always have a functioning network and everyone has what they need to do their job. So his day always ends with a final check of systems and tickets before he leaves. Vlad's background is really interesting to how he came here as well. So he graduated college with a degree in chemistry and computer science and then got a master's in chemistry from Moscow University. And during those times, he was an exceptional boxer that he doesn't really talk about, but he boxed throughout high school and college. In 1989, Vlad emigrated to the U.S. with his wife, Marta. A fun fact is that our very own Sue Henderson, she's a middle school teacher. She taught Vlad and his wife English. And so Vlad originally lived in Lynn, learned English, and he saw Swampscott was a great little town, and so he and his wife purchased their home in 1992. They still live there to this day. They raised 3 exceptional children, all who graduated from Swampscott Public Schools in 99, 2002, and 2008. I had one of their children as a student as well when I was an 8th grade teacher, so that's very special to me. Vlad encompasses what it means to be Big Blue, working for Swampscott Public Schools and raising his family in this town and having the kids through the public school system. He truly cares about this town and Swampscott Public Schools. Before he came here, he worked in chemical labs. The company moved to New Hampshire, and he was thinking about what he was going to do, so he used his next degree, and he came to Swampscott as a network administrator in 2002, and that's how he's retiring. Outside of work, he enjoys his 5 grandchildren. He imagines his retirement will be full of visiting them and babysitting. He's an avid mushroom hunter. Over the years, he's made trips to find rare mushrooms in Cape Cod and talk to us about them, but then he told me that he found some other things in Lynn Woods. But recently, he's been proud that his yard is now growing honey mushrooms in October. So that was something that he will be doing in his retirement. When asked about what he might do next, he said to me, straight-faced, "I won't be helping my wife in the kitchen. I am not a chef. Even though I have a chemistry degree, I am sous chef material." And Vlad also said that it's really important that everyone knows that he has a lot of family and friends in the Ukraine. And even though he's from the Soviet Union, it's not Putin's Soviet Union, and he cares deeply for it, and he's always worried about what's going on in Ukraine. That's really important to him as someone who has a Russian background that is in America. So, Vlad, we're going to miss you so much. It's been a great 21 years, and I've learned so much about him the last few years. I've learned so much on how to do the job and what it entails, and he's always been there for me, somebody that I can call, that will text me at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m., and we'll never replace that sort of a work ethic and how that is. That just isn't. So, Vlad, we will miss you so much.
Vlad, come on down. Yay, Vlad. Yay. I will say that everything LaTanya said is true. He is early in the morning if you come in and I say the phones are out or the internet's down or he's on it in 2 seconds flat and it gets it fixed, but he does magically appear.
I was going to test to say, like, where's Vlad? And you turn around, and there he is.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Pam. I'm very humble. But first, let me express my gratitude to all staff members, to administration, to my IT team. You guys are awesome. And to be honest, I wouldn't do my job without you. Just because of you, I could do my job. So from day one, I started in 2002 as a system admin, and we had a lot of progress. I can give you some.
That would be an understatement.
For example, when I started the job, we had 6 schools, high school, middle school, and 4 elementaries. And I can barely count 200 computers for the whole district. No wireless network. The broadband speed was 4 megabit per second, which is compared to what we have now, 500 times difference. Also, I'm not going to take your time because if I list all challenges, you're going to be really bored. But we'll give you only one example. Everyone knows this nice building, and we have meetings in this building, but probably not everyone knows about the history. This building was opened in the year 2007. I was out of the loop. It's all outside people designed, and it was a really nice design. The only problem we had, this was designed as a standalone building without any integration to other schools. It was a really tough challenge. It took 5 years. Finally, town built fiber ring, and we finally consolidated network, because it was literally nightmare. Like one internet circuit goes to this building, new high school, another internet circuit goes to, it used to be high school, now it's a middle school. So it's separate firewalls, separate content filtering, but I'm glad it's over now. And we have really...
Many more challenges than that, though, too.
So Tanya mentioned about boxing. I'm just thinking about maybe I need to buy boxing gloves and a punching bag, and who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I can compete in a special senior division.
Yeah.
Would you mind taking a picture?
Of course not.
We're going to go over there and we'll just take a picture. Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations. I don't know what it's going to be like not seeing Vlad.
Vlad promised me he wouldn't change his phone number.
Personal number.
All right, well, that's good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Congratulations, Vlad. You will be missed.
Congratulations, Vlad.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Tanya.
much. Thank you.
I'm going to jump the METCO update and presentation because Ms. Ogunbona is stuck in traffic in Boston, so if we could just take it out of order when she
Absolutely.
comes,
Of course.
that would be great. So the final update I have on my agenda is the Student Opportunity Act Annual Progress Report. Just to review a little bit, the Student Opportunity Act was in 2019. Oh, look at that! I'll do this and catch your breath, and then we'll flip to you, Ms. Ogunbona. So in 2019, they came up with the Student Opportunity Act to ensure that every student in the state had high-quality learning opportunities, and that it would lead them to success in post-secondary education. The main focus of this at the time was taking a closer look at the inequitable gaps in experiences and outcomes across racial and ethnic groups and economically disadvantaged communities compared to higher income families, students with disabilities versus non-disabled peers, and English language learners compared to first language students in English. And so what we were tasked with doing is developing a 3-year gap closing plan, and there's a timeline that we have to meet. And by April 3rd, we had our annual progress report that was due. Dr. Bacon had submitted this report. It will be posted on our webpage. It talks about the progress that we've made, so I'm going to just read some highlights. In the spring of 2020, Swampscott Public Schools submitted our SOA plan to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Our goals were to, 1, decrease the achievement gaps for students with disabilities, and 2, decrease achievement gaps for high-needs students. So our progress towards our goal, and this had to be submitted to the state. Students with disability. We have made strong progress in closing achievement gaps for students with disabilities between 2019 pre-pandemic and 2022. For example, in ELA in grades 3 through 8 in 2019, only 17% of students with disabilities met or exceeded the grade level expectations, compared to 62% of all students. In 2022, the gap had narrowed to minus 38% versus that minus 45%. It is a lengthy report, and I don't want to read it all to you, but let's go to page 2. Our high needs students. We have made moderate progress in closing achievement gaps for our high needs students between 2019 and 2022. In ELA and 3 through 8 in 2019, only 36% of high needs students met or exceeded the grade level expectations, compared to 62% of all students, a gap of 26%. In 2022, the gap narrowed to 24%, so it's only a slight improvement. But we do have, most importantly, our strategies for improvement. The strategies for improving performance of both our students with disabilities and our high needs students we identified in our SOA plan include adopting high quality instructional materials known as HQIM. We adopted a new elementary math curriculum, illustrative mathematics, in the fall of 2021, and a new middle school math curriculum into math in fall of 2022. We're in the process of selecting a new K-5 literacy curriculum for implementation in the fall of 2024. But high quality instructional materials support the learning outcomes for all students, no matter their subgroup. On the next page, we know that we're expanding our career and technical education opportunities. We've talked a lot about how we have a successful advanced manufacturing technical education program. We're adding business and finance in the fall of 23, and we participate in the After Dark program with Essex Agricultural and Technical High School. And also keep in mind, by the fall of 2024, we're hoping to add an IT innovation pathway program as well. And so obviously this was added to our drive, our shared drive. You can read it more thoroughly. I welcome questions. If you want to send them to me, I can bring it back at our next meeting and we can talk a little bit more about it. But it is going to be shared with families. It is going to be posted on the website as required, and sharing with the committee is another requirement. So I share that with you to let you know what we're doing.
Any thoughts, comments? Suzanne or John?
I was confused when I read this because, like, students with disabilities and then high need students, like, the first one seems obvious to me, students with disabilities, but then high needs is categorized as students with disabilities and ELL and
Right, so they could have multiple categories.
so it's just weird that they parse them out.
Separated out that way.
Right? Because, so is the first group included in the second group?
That's a good question.
No, like, it just seems
Yes.
weird, because when you read there's 804 high needs students, you're thinking, oh my God, almost half of our population.
Overlap. But the high need students include maybe economically disadvantaged.
Right, but it also says they include the ones with disabilities. I was just noticing the number was 800.
800, no, they're overlapping.
Right? Because when you read 804, you're like,
No, we don't.
we better do a better job if
No.
it's not that.
They're definitely overlapping. It's nice that we're seeing progress. It's nice that we have Dr. Bacon looking at these high-quality programs, although in the chair report tonight, Mr. Pastor has a suggestion, that it has come to you about the math program, and I did have that discussion with Dr. Bacon, but it's nice that they're exploring the literacy. It's been a long time since we've had someone in that role that's really done such a thorough job, and I commend Dr. Bacon and her team and the teachers that participate in it for, really delving into new programs that align with the curriculum.
Yeah, like Dr. Bacon, I know we were so happy to have her come on board because of her strengths and her standards, and I think, I feel like I hope she can keep doing the work she's been doing.
Yep. Apparently she's, and has her hand raised. Dr. Bacon is here virtually and has her hand raised. There's no way there's 804, so I'm sure she'll
It
correct me.
it is, it is,
Yeah,
it crosses.
over.
Can she?
All set.
Can
Dr.
you?
There we go.
Bacon.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
I was just going to answer Ms. Wright's question. The reason that we did it that way is because when we looked at the data, the group that was most disadvantaged in terms of the gap in their outcomes were the students with disabilities. So we wanted to pull them out and look at them specifically because that was the most challenged group. But we also felt that overall, that whole high needs group had some significant gaps in their learning. So we also wanted to look at them as a collective and see if we could move them as a collective. So, you know, what the data looks like in terms of now, when we're looking at our students with disabilities, we're closing the gaps faster for them than we are that larger group, which includes students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged, and EL students. And again, there's considerable overlap among those three groups. So we're kind of looking at a big picture problem in terms of those three subgroups altogether, and then a very specific problem that we face with students with disabilities.
I appreciate that, thank you. That makes sense.
Thank you, Dr. Bacon.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, just as, I know this isn't the time to get into the details of the literacy updates that are being planned, but since we have Dr. Bacon, can she just quickly speak high level what we're thinking, and maybe at some point come back and give us a fuller presentation?
Sure, Dr. Bacon, could you give an update to the committee of where you're at in that process for the literacy?
Sure. Am I unmuted again?
You are.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we have a committee of 6 teachers and myself, ranging from grades K to 6, who have been working since the middle of the year to identify our goals in our literacy program and then begin reviewing highly rated different literacy programs. So we're at the stage now where we've narrowed the big field of, you know, many literacy programs to, I think, 6. And then we're in the process right now of examining those 6 programs, and we're going to pick 2 or 3 at most to pilot next year with selection of teachers before we make a final decision in the spring of next year to be able to implement the program when we open the new school in the fall of 2024.
Does that answer your question?
It does. If you can indulge me for one more minute, I heard something about, you said the math curriculum. Is there any update we should talk about on that, or?
No, under chair,
yeah.
Mr. Pastor got some feedback and he asked a
Okay.
question. He's going to give an update on that as well.
Gotcha.
And I've already spoken to Dr. Bacon about that.
Okey-doke.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. Bacon.
So just from my perspective, Superintendent, about this, you know, it means an awful lot to me personally, and, you know, the various committees that I sit on. Any progress is positive progress. The populations are vexing sometimes to move that needle, and it's outstanding to see what we are doing as a community, and a community, I mean my school, district, to have all students achieve, whether they have multiple challenges or just a single disability. And I think it's just a fantastic thing. And I just don't want anyone to lose sight that, you know, yes, we'd like to see, you know, high single or double digit changes. Changes in this group are slow and steady. And so I just want to recognize the hard work that everybody does. And, you know, I know from a fact we want things to change tomorrow. And that's just not how this group reacts. And I know just from a parent perspective and some current parents who I've spoken to are very pleased with just the various curriculums and how they've been implemented to this group. And I know we don't really talk curriculums, and, you know, nor should we, but it's great that the school district, from whether it's math, whether it's literacy, is really looking at, you know, the best possible outcome for all populations. So on behalf of them, I say thank you very much.
Thank you. It is really a tribute to Dr. Bacon and her department and the assessments she's put in place and the data analysis and really coaching the administrators to look at the data that I think has made a significant impact on the work that's being done in the district. So again, thank you to Dr. Bacon and her team. Appreciate that. And now, last but certainly not least, got here safely, I'm happy to see. We have Ms. Ogunbona, our Director of METCO, here today to give her annual METCO update. LaToya, you can sit here, and John, are you able to bring up her presentation? Perfect, look at you. Oh, we've all learned.
Just so you missed, you weren't here in the beginning, I was talking about Juneteenth and
Oh,
what a
yeah.
great day it was, and the kids, especially like Aiden singing, just
yeah.
whatever, and those 5 kids with that beautiful poem, and I just was asking everyone to listen to Reverend Andre's speech, because I went back to watched it on YouTube a couple
Yeah.
times. It's really just, he's
progress-
unbelievable.
The progress that the students that participated and that have made over the course of the year has been incredible.
Really?
Especially Aiden, he came in not really connected or anything, and to see him get up on the stage.
He
and-
got up like it.
Yeah.
He got. I mean, you could tell he was nervous, right? But he got up like a rock star.
Yeah.
Like that was like. I was feeling so nervous, like standing behind him before he got up there. I was just like, oh
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Yeah, he was awesome.
And we
Thank
were
you, thank
talking,
you.
I was explaining how you and I spoke after about having it on an early release day works much better, and looking ahead to next year, we need to make sure that we analyze that.
Yeah.
It was difficult this year with town hall being closed
Yeah.
on a Friday, so, and then the holiday on the Monday, but we'll do better. We will do better.
Yeah, and I think especially last year was really great turnout. Teachers from the middle school walked their kiddos over, and then
Right,
everybody
it
was
just big-
dismissed after.
Yeah, it made a big
So
difference.
it does. Do I have like a dongle or something, or?
You say next slide, and
Oh, okay.
I guess that would be
Giantis will-
me.
Sure, okay. So my name is LaToya Ogunbona. I am the Swampscott Public Schools METCO Director. I'm going into my 10th year here in the district, and I will be working on my second licensure for my social work license, and then I also have my school adjustment counseling license. You can go to the next one. So just piggybacking off of last year, we've had some changes in staffing and in positions this year. Last year, I had the goal of bringing in more social emotional support. So I inquired at Salem State how we can get a social work intern. I also went to Salem State, so we ended up having the blessing of having Miss Shaquanda Brown as our social work intern. Shaquanda was a METCO student herself, and she went to Marblehead, and she really did make an impact this year. So we welcome her with open arms. The kids love her. Very sad to see her move on, but we know this is not goodbye, it's see you later. So we thank Shaquanda for the hard work that she did this year and the impact that she made on our students and our district in general. Crystal Lynch is our METCO academic tutor, and our high school academic tutor is Mr. Temmie Bailey. They actually we've edited the position to be a coordinator position because we feel as though they're much more than a tutor. They're calling home, they're waiting for the bus, they're coming in early, they're leaving late. Parents have access to them via phone. They're giving, reports and just really doing more of a coordinator job rather than a tutor just being in the classroom. So congratulations to Temmie and congratulations to Krista. And then also Shaquanda, I should mention that she graduated this year from my alma mater, Salem State, with the same social work license. So congratulations to Shaquanda. And this year I was supervised by Superintendent Pamela Angelakis.
Yes.
So our student profile this year, we saw a lot more students in the high school. We, for the first time in a long time, had 6 Hadley students as opposed to 2 last year. And then our middle school kind of teetered in the middle, with our enrollment at the middle school being 15 students. You can go to the next slide. Our program goals just expanded from last year. Like I said, social emotional learning, access to a social worker who is representative of them was really a goal of mine. So again, very blessed to have Shaquanda this year. Having her background as a social worker, as a youth worker, as a former METCO student or a METCO alum, and then also her having the knowledge of both Boston and of the North Shore area has been extremely helpful to our students. We continued with ROC and SOCA, so Mr. Bailey runs ROC. Just really having more opportunities for students to be in affinity, not only with their peers in the METCO program, but extended outside of the METCO program. And then special thanks to the town for giving us some capital. We have a beautiful new office, new lounge. The kids are loving it, and we can't thank you enough. Everything was kind of back ordered, but we ended up getting everything in time for the seniors to enjoy it. The kids actually really took an active role in picking and being part of the conversation. My student leader, Dakaya Simmons, who's like my right-hand student leader, my METCO president, if you will, she and a few other students really took ownership of the space, picking out the colors, picking out what furniture, thinking about how it's furnished, thinking about the feng shui, and decorating. So it was really good that they did that, and also really good experience for them interfacing with these kinds of systems. And having the access to Ms. Shaquanda Brown has been really pivotal for our students this year. So specially designated to our METCO students. She had pretty much a caseload of all the students, save the ones that are already working with our social emotional supports in the schools. So maybe some of these students that don't necessarily say or think that they need support, but they tend to be kind of hovering in the middle. Those are students that I usually am fearful of because, one thing could lead to another, and now they're not coming to school, or now they're not feeling a connection to the school. So I think she really did a good job of identifying some of those students that are kind of in the middle and bringing them back in and helping them with coping skills and helping them with any support that they needed, whether it was in the moment or scheduling time outside of their classes to come talk with her, and regularly and consistently over the course of the year. Some of the things that we saw a lot of were anxiety. So it manifests differently in different populations, but just withdrawing from school, withdrawing from the things that they used to like or enjoy. So Shaquanda was really great at identifying that under my supervision, and then also just having team meetings with all of us together. So that was a big goal that I had this year. Hopefully next year I can have 2 interns from Salem State, a BSW and an MSW, to continue our social emotional growth. Academic achievement, continuing academic support ongoing, whether that's in the classroom or during tutorial. And then focusing on our student needs, always reevaluating and asking ourselves in our meetings, what do we need? What do we need to be doing differently? What do our students need, and what do our families need? We've seen an increase of students who may be facing homelessness or transitional housing, who may need, who are experiencing food insecurity, and then just overall having that affinity with each other, that connection to the district. Those are some of the needs we saw this year. Community reconnection, we had a lot of great activities that we did over the course of the year, which I can get into a little bit later. And then just sustaining the program and being consistent. So those were the goals for this year. You can go to the next. So, so here's the new space. I don't have a picture of the old one. it was not good. So we are happy for the new opportunity. It's a beautiful space that they deserve. It's their home away from home. And it really helps to center them and just make them feel at ease. And the space has always been that because of the people in it, but now they have, the furnishings, the light, the room, the art to reflect that. Yeah, you can go to the next.
Do kids bring in some of their Swampscott friends into the room?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so it's not like they go to like necessarily escape, like they want to share the space too.
Yeah, they do want to share the space. We do have norms in the room that students create, that our METCO students create, and we could do a better job of, I think the students could do a better job of like expressing it to their friends, because some people come in and they don't know like what this room is. Right. But Temi has ROC meetings in there. He actually extended the invitations for all students, all male identifying students. So creating it into more of a brotherhood, where all of them can get the same access to mentorship. And he talked a lot about just how that's opened up a lot for our boys of color. And then also on the other end, exposing or acculturating students, white students who may not necessarily have ever been in the room or know anything about METCO, or
When you call it like home away from home, it's like a nice way to invite their friends into their home that's here.
Yeah,
like it
exactly.
feels like if they have ownership over it and they're inviting kids into it, it's so helpful for relationships.
Yeah. And the space is not only utilized by METCO students. I mean, before there were other students coming in. We usually, our students of color population is very strong here as well. So they're coming in. They're not necessarily METCO students, but, we still welcome them with open arms. But this time, this is the first time I've seen a lot of like Swampscott resident and Nahant students coming in that maybe I wouldn't have necessarily interacted with, but they're coming into the space, and we appreciate that and we enjoy that. And they're also like respectful. Sometimes we have to have grounding conversations. Sure. When you come into a room, you say hello, and you talk to people. So but they've been very receptive, and I'm looking forward to that continued space. So yeah, we can go to the next one. So our goal of social emotional learning, just some pictures over here on the left. You see ROC. They had a day, I believe, where they were taking a yearbook picture, so everybody had to dress up. And just, Temi does a really good job of implementing some of the things that he's learned in the past and passing it on to them. So, dressing up good, feeling good, and then the way you carry yourself, it's just going to make a difference in how you feel. And then we had Shaquanda running our Girls of Color group, which the girls had explicitly asked for a space where they can talk about things that they feel are relevant to them. So some of those things include Eurocentric beauty standards. They talked a lot about relationships and self-actualization and their own identity and identity formation. So they also had, Shaquanda also oversaw with Krista kind of a bridging that we haven't had before, haven't had the time to have before, which was the middle school girls getting together with the high school girls. And so we had a lot of new students this year. So for them to have those connections with each other, which you can see on the right-hand side, was really a beautiful thing to see. So creating those spaces where students can feel supported, where students can gain advice, where they feel safe, I think really helps with the foundation so that they can leave even just leaving this classroom where they had that space and being able to be like, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, this is where I come from, and now I can share that with other people. We can go to the next slide. So, Shaquanda, let me share some of the goals, and we came up with this together in the beginning of the year, and over the course of the year, we really worked together in supervision on reaching these goals. So providing social emotional support for METCO students, specifically across 3 schools in Swampscott. That was the overarching goal. And now, what does it look like? How are we implementing it? We had the goal of having a weekly girls group of color during X block, individual 20-minute check-ins with Hadley METCO students on Mondays. During advisory, students could meet in the office, in the METCO office in the middle school. She also attended book club, which made other students come to book club. And she had individual check-ins with middle school and high school students as needed. She attended interdisciplinary and interdepartmental meetings with guidance, administration, social emotional supports, and sometimes at times with METCO Inc. Draft protocol with Sarah Kelly for Boston resident students who experience mental health crises. So basically what that is are they going to Boston or are they going to Salem? So we talked at length about that, and she helped develop that protocol. And then monthly high school and middle school girls mentoring. So we can go to the next one. So the girls group goals: pro-socialization, a therapeutic space, building community, increasing self-esteem, increasing self-efficacy, an affinity space, and mentorship. So the outcomes on the right are actually what our students said about the girls group. They're more comfortable talking about societal things that impact us, i.e. colorism and beauty standards, safe space to share ideas and shared experiences. I'm better at communicating, helpful to talk about relationships and navigating them. So, these are from the mouths of the babes, as we would say. And if they can, if they can actually communicate that lets me know that some good came out of it. Shaquanda also based her internship project on this girls group. So there's data that she's solicited from the students, pre and post data of how they felt coming in and how they felt at the end. We actually had a beautiful little goodbye or see you later for Shaquanda, as well as kind of like in a session where they wrote down all their anxieties, and then we were able to go to a great family friend, somebody who's a family that's been extremely helpful over the past few years. The Spelioses, they all, they chipped in, and we went over, and the girls wrote down their anxieties, and they actually burned them in a fire pit and, released that. And that's what they wanted. They wanted to have that kind of closing, and it was great that we could give that to them. We can go to the next. For our Boys of Color group, which is now, I think Temi is going to change the name because it's evolved. So to increase self-efficacy, community collaboration, create connections with allies, academic expectations tied into the group participation. So Temi checking in, like if you're not, doing your classes, you cannot come here during X block. So setting that standard of, we got to take care of our work first. And then teaching them accountability for self and for fellow group participants. So I am my brother's keeper, essentially. And so the outcomes that Temi identified were he wanted to establish an ROC scholarship. He did that through the staff versus student basketball game fundraiser. And the students discussed increased feelings of acceptance and brotherhood amongst other male students that they may have never interacted with before. So, and somehow I didn't even put SOCA in here, but SOCA is, I feel like, interwoven into both of those groups anyways. But, SOCA, our big thing is to do the Heritage Festival, to educate people about the diversity that we have in the district. And we partner with Shore to do that. Shout out to Shore. They've been our funding resource, and we hope that can continue. And along with that, we also have had our students participating in kind of like leadership workshops, professional or personal development workshops through METCO Inc. and through the METCO Directors Association. We had our annual holiday party in the office before Christmas break or before holiday break. And then some really exciting things that we did this year is partnering again with the Senior Center. And we created a quilt, SOCA ROC, created a quilt with the seniors, and the quilt lives on, and it had a tour, and it traveled all around the district. And we had our students and our seniors collaborating together, going to the schools, talking to our younger students about their involvement and about the project and why it's so important that these two populations are coming together and working together. We were featured in Education Weekly and some other print. So the students are really, you know, they've taken pride in not only themselves, but the community that they are a part of. So that's always something that we like to see. And I'm super proud of them. We can go to the next slide. I put this here because they're just such dolls.
Yeah.
Like, and there's 6 of them now, and that hasn't been the case for a while. And we have some more coming next year. Most of them are sibling students, so their siblings are in other grades, higher grades, and they're just loves. We're working a lot on bus behavior, which has gotten a lot better over this year, and we're working a lot on. I mean, I have not had too many concerns academically, and I think that's a testament to why they should be coming in earlier. Getting that support, catching things early, chatting them early and then even just having them have the experience earlier on does, most times in my experience over the course of my time here, does prove better in the long run.
Definitely. New school?
Yes.
What opportunities they need to socialize? Like how can that
Yeah.
work for them? Like, are they?
We have to
do
build
we
the
have
host family program.
Yeah.
Do we have
So-
families though? Are there?
We're working on it. I just got off a call with Dr. Bacon and Erin Flynn and Kawanda Boyd and Rebecca and Peter Spelios and Donna Coakley and Melinda Kennedy. And if I'm forgetting anybody, sorry. But we've been working on this over the past year, and I think we have some concrete plans to build this in an intentional way and in a sustainable way. I think in the past it hasn't been sustainable. It's only been left to the director, which, you know, when a director leaves, then what happens? So really trying to be thoughtful about how we're going to build this, and also to make it like a partnership, an exchange, because our Boston families are bringing a wealth of riches to the town. So in terms of, you know, having that cross-cultural exchange, that's something that really should be happening, which is why I shy away from using the term host family. Host in and of itself means something else is parasitic. So, and that's not what we want our families to think, and that's not what we want our children to think. So, you know, having a family friend in town and then building up that program in an intentional, sustainable way is something that's definitely on my goal for next year. So our goals are academic achievement. As you can see, there's a little breakdown of our students. We have a few in 5th. We have, I can't remember off the top of my head, but 8th grade, we had 8 students graduate this year. We have on the right, that's one of our honor roll breakfasts. We have several students who achieved high honors throughout the school year, so we're really proud of them. And at the same time, we are working really hard with our students who are not achieving that, but are achieving things in their own special ways. We can continue. Yes. So our grade 5 METCO students, they really did well. As you can see, above 75 and above is really what I asked for, but they've excelled beyond that. I think we see a little dip in term 2 because break, and I think the work gets a little bit harder, but I think they still did a really good job over this year. So we can go to the next one. Our grade 6 METCO students, same thing. We saw higher in like our math courses, and then a little bit of a dip during T2. I'd also like to mention there was some staffing issues, so we were a little bit spread thin in terms of academics this year, but for the most part, they held to their responsibilities, and I think the teachers did a great job of stepping in where they could and just enhancing communication. We can go to the next one. And then we really see a dip for our 7th grade students. So there are two students in that cohort. So, you know, their grades are pretty reflective of each other. But I also think this is good data to show how much we need that academic support outside of the classroom. And then our grade 8 students kind of teetered in the middle as well. So again, you can see that, you know, as the work gets a little bit more difficult, maybe around 7th, 8th grade, that's where we really need to focus on that academic support, whether it's more tutoring or more in-class support.
Which is also speaks to getting them here in Swampscott younger.
Yeah.
And that's always been my philosophy, and I look forward to that.
So we're gonna go off to the high school, and here again, we have some students, some of our cherubs who achieved honor roll and high honors. So again, thanks to the PCO for, you know, sponsoring those breakfasts and lunch. So 9th grade, we have about 4 students in 9th grade, and you can see 10th grade is our biggest cohort. 11th grade, there's another 4 students, and then 12th grade, we had 7 that graduated this year, so we can continue. So our freshmen, they did a great job, kind of teetered out 3rd quarter, but we're hoping that those fourth quarter grades have gotten higher. So yeah, we can go to the next one. I think the biggest strengths I see are in English and ELA, and then some of the deficits I see tend to be in math, especially when they get to sophomore, junior year. But this class here, they did do pretty well. This is a big class, the sophomores. I think there are, off the top of my head, I think there are 12 or 13 of them. I'm not bringing in any sophomores, any juniors rather, to join this cohort. So they're locked in for the next 2 years, and I'm interested to see their growth and development from their freshman year to senior year. So that's something me and Mr. Bailey have really been talking about. We can go to the next one. And again, this is a smaller cohort, but you can again see that the math is dipping, and it has been. You know, I usually see that in their junior year. So really trying to talk with, you know, guidance and Dennis and Colleen about why that might be happening, because this is just a subset of potentially something bigger. We can move on. And our seniors. So this class was our COVID freshman class, and you can see, and Temi and I were going over the data, and you can see the impact that COVID had on this class, socially, and then obviously academically, you know, but by grace, they've made it through. There, you can see a little bit of senioritis in that quarter 3. But yeah, they made it through. We have several that are going to college, one going to trade, one going to the military. So nonetheless, we're really proud, but really working on targeting them in that quarter 1, quarter 2, so that they can, you know, have a little bit more flexibility in terms of where they go and the financial aid that they get. But they did miss out on a lot of those skills that you build your sophomore, junior year. And then, you know, hopefully they can catch up from it as they move on. But that's something that we definitely noticed over the past 4 years. We can continue. So these are some of the acceptances that we had. There's a lot more, but I couldn't fit them all. And then for the first time in my time here, I've had students apply and get accepted to historically Black colleges and universities, which, you know, sometimes in American culture for African Americans can be a rite of passage, especially after them having this educational experience. I think it'll be very powerful for them to have, you know, that alternative experience as well. And then I even heard that some of our, I think May Raymond applied to an HBCU too as well. Like, so I think that's really cool. But we have a student going to Georgia State. We have a student going to University of New Haven. We have 2 students going to Curry, 1 student going to the Army. Who am I missing? Norfolk State. We have 1 student going to Norfolk State, which is not pictured here. I thought I put it here. Oh, I did, yeah. So 1 student going to Norfolk State, and then there were lots of other acceptances. It wasn't really reflected in the awards night or even at graduation, but they were able to secure some scholarships, some good scholarships, and Dakaya Simmons received and earned the Tara Cisco Memorial Scholarship. So, and that's fundraised by the METCO PCO.
Nice.
And then we have several students who also received the METCO Directors Association Scholarship. And in addition to SOCA, I also do senior seminar with them, which is a supplementary time for them to work on their applications, work on essays, work on lists, and then work on financial aid, really breaking down what they want to do and do they realize this is how much it's going to cost. And then, so that was really successful this year. I'm super proud of them, and I wish them all the best. Mm-hmm. We can go to the next one. So this is them. The happiest I've seen them. I mean, this one next to Sonny with the glasses. I mean, to see him smile like this is tremendous.
You did it.
They did it. So super proud of them. We can move on to the next one. So for our 2023-2024 goals, we would like to increase enrollment, which I'm working on right now. I've had several tours today and over the course of this week. I had a family today. They were wonderful, and they really loved it. An 8th grader coming in, and then his brother will be coming in later on. Continuing community building, so having our students engaged in different projects that are happening, engaging in the community, whether that's through sports or theater, and then also having that access to for other students to come and talk to us as well. Having more community projects or having community projects. Had a great talk with Joe Dulett about having our students have some sort of segment. We're still panning out what that might look like, but really letting the community know about METCO and the great work that our students do and how folks can get involved. Internally, with the PCO, just increasing parent engagement, and I think that's part of the conversations that we've been having with the PCO, kind of building that bridge that hasn't been there before. There's been such a focus, I think, during my tenure of like, all right, we have to make sure we have the right staffing. We have to make sure that the academics are on point. We have to make sure that all these other things are in place, but that hasn't really allowed for that parent engagement to develop on the town side or on the METCO PCO side. So really working with parents around engagement. I would like our coordinators now to have some more workshops integrated into tutorial. So okay, we did an hour of homework. All right, we need to do 30 minutes of executive functioning skills. And along with parent engagement is the Family and Friends program. And then just more opportunities for connection for elementary METCO students, because I see that's been a need, and we're going to have more students. So we can go to the next one.
Elementary school. What time do they go home? The elementary school kids, do they go on an early bus?
Yep. So they're on the first thing out, and that's at 2:10.
So the family friends would give them an opportunity to stay.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, just to have a home.
Yeah,
Be able to do play dates or
PTO after school programs
Right.
and things like that. Yeah.
I think that what they talked about a lot was having like a quarterly or 3 play dates a year where they're really just having fun with each other and getting to stay outside in the town a bit longer. So,
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
First of all, this was great. Thank you very much. How do we help you, the district, us obviously, recruit younger kids? Because it's very
We can't
similar.
until the new school opens.
Okay, so when that happens, how do we do that? It's very similar to what, we were dealing with Nahant, is obviously the younger students who come here, the better, because you're right, we can pick up things so much earlier and make their middle school and high school experience better for them, better for their parents, et cetera. How do you go about that? How do you go about recruiting?
So yeah, METCO Inc. is our enrollment resource. So as long as they're getting folders, as long as they're getting applicants, we should be able to bring folks in. There is a landscape that's changing in Boston with the prices of rent going up, where families are having to move out of district, which then makes them ineligible for METCO.
Right.
The good thing is that we've expanded to East Boston. So for the first time, I have students from East Boston, which I hadn't had before.
Great.
And, there's things that, are coming up that we hadn't thought of before, with transportation and the way that the students are coming in and the way that they're going out. They can't get to the same stop. It's a busy place. So really trying to be intentional about where they're coming in, where they're getting let out. I believe that the first week will not be so smooth sailing, but I'm hopeful that
It never is.
I'm hopeful that when we get it right, we can bring in more students, especially from East Boston.
Right.
And along with that, I'm finding that when I'm speaking with other directors who are on the North Shore, not a lot of them are bringing in East Boston for the same thing. So it may be a good thing that we're doing that, because now we are giving students opportunities, which the students that I had today on one of the tours, they were so thankful, they were so happy
Right.
to be coming here. And so if I can give that to more folks, then I'll see it as a win.
Are people helping with the tours? Like, are you meeting with some teachers or principals or anything else?
Well, everyone's gone now, so no, but
I
we've
think
had,
Emily's daughter
Yep,
went down.
yesterday-
Emily's daughter was,
Yeah, but I'm
yesterday,
just saying,
Emily-
I think that's a really important component to maybe, someone to take them around, like just someone from the town. Like, I would take someone around, just show them the town.
that's
You know what I'm
actually
saying? Like, I would
a really good
totally, it would
idea.
be nice to just, like, it would be nice to be able to do that, right? Just to,
I don't think Latoya heard what you were saying about Marblehead. They had a bus.
oh yeah, they had a whole bunch of families. They took a bus from Nubian Square, like,
Okay.
I think their little school bus, and they
Okay.
picked up a whole bunch of families, and they all came and did their tours together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they had, at the school, they had like the social worker, a principal, a teacher.
Nice.
But then we could plan the day
Yeah.
around town after. I really love that idea.
No, I
something
think
I'd
it's a
like
great
to
idea. I
pursue.
mean, I would love, it would be fun to just like be the town person too and be like, I mean, thinking about after-school programs, like just my proximity across the street from Hadley, basically, it's like, be so nice to be like, you can use my house for play dates, like invite kids over and you guys can play, like have play dates, like whatever, do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Well, I hope Family Engagement is watching so that they can help.
Dr. Bacon
I know.
is. Yes, I
Create
know Dr.
this.
Bacon is.
Yeah.
We're not able to see tonight who.
it's
who's
okay,
here
like
as an
Peter
attendee.
and Rebecca, we have this conversation all the time.
Yeah, I think parent engagement is coming up with some really good ideas, some strategic ideas. I think that's a great idea. And we're going to see how we can implement it. Hopefully in the beginning of the year, maybe we can do something like that, because I'm trying to figure out how we can have an orientation before school starts so that folks can get a better idea of how Swampscott is, and just coming together and taking care of the things that need to be taken care of, like testing and placement and stuff like that, but also.
Can I ask you a question about placements? And to your point, I think it's a great idea to have members of the community give tours. I think it makes all the sense in the world. But how competitive? So if a family wants to come to the North Shore, how competitive is it between, let's say, Swampscott and a Marblehead and another community? How do the families? How does that all play out?
So as far as enrollment and METCO Inc. being our enrollment resource, it's a lottery. So parents sign up, they apply online, and then everybody gets selected.
Right.
There are preferences.
Right.
A lot of the time I hear, and I get declines, Swampscott is too far. So the family may be coming from like West Roxbury or Mattapan and Hyde Park, where I don't have that many stops there. I have one stop.
Right.
So, but I think that with East Boston now being added to our district acceptances, I think it will become competitive, and it will become a place where folks want to go. It's 30 minutes away or 25 minutes away. So I think that if we can flesh out some things this year with
Right.
transportation, I think it'll be a really good start.
Great. I mean, I look forward to hearing, in the fall, how we're doing, you get a lot of kids graduate, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
We want to keep replenishing that, and especially as a new building opens, we'll have the room.
Yeah,
So that'd be great. But this was magnificent. Thank you so much for.
no problem.
Vlad.
We do have
It was
20
great
students
presentation.
coming in for next year. So that's a gain of about 14 students.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I know the superintendent has, on several occasions, updated the committee, looking forward to the new school and
I am,
the
because
opportunity to recruit more, and I
as
think
the
that's
Stanley
tremendous.
School principal, we had little ones, and, I thought kindergarten was a little too young, but having them in at the elementary is critical. And when we went from 8 sections at the elementary level across the district to 7, and then now we're at Blaney, it's like we've really squeezed us. I can't wait to go to this new school and really start bringing them in younger. But magnificent presentation,
So
Latoya,
I
thank you
have
so
one
much.
other quick
Nope, go ahead,
comment.
absolutely.
Yeah, great presentation, in case I didn't say that already. I know in the past we had talked about, where the school committee members can plug into this process to help sell Swampscott and, as a great destination for the METCO students. So I'm just going to reiterate that. I know we had talked about it previously, but, again, with the new school coming online, if there are events, either here or in Boston where, you feel that, our presence would help, or I'm not going to volunteer anybody else except myself, but if others wanted to also participate, I think that'd be great, just to talk about, the opportunities here and how they might,
Completely agree. I mean, again, we have this beautiful new school coming on board. And just so much opportunity for everybody, for all populations to interact at a younger age. And I think that's just a great thing.
Yeah.
I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
Thank you.
having me.
It's been a long day, don't stick
Thank you.
Latoya.
Anything else you'd like to chat about, Mrs.
No, that
Marcus?
concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, I do have just a few things to chat about. So the community knows, the school committee retreat is on Thursday, July 27th. Suzanne and I will talk about what we want to do for an agenda, and part of that will be the representatives from Copeland and Page will be coming in, doing several presentations regarding meeting rules, regarding subcommittee rules, and a lot of this has changed in the last couple of years or so, and the enforcement has really changed as well. So they'll teach us a lot about what some of those changes are and what we have to do to make sure that we're in compliance with all applicable rules and regulations. So we're all excited about that. I was going to talk about school committee protocols, but in deference to the members who are not here, this is something that I'm just going to table, if that's okay, until that meeting on the 27th. I mean, I do know I have some questions and some suggestions about this document, but why don't we just table that?
So, but I think in the meantime, for homework for the 27th, I think everyone needs to go through it, like,
Yes.
and rank before we go to this meeting to sort of give it on a scale of 1 to 3, like 1, we're doing it,
Right,
2, it's not a problem, 3, it's an issue,
right.
so that we can just discuss the 3s at our meeting,
Okay.
sort of the ones we didn't agree on,
Right.
and then if we think we should change some, then we should discuss that later.
Yeah, I will send that to everybody. Thank you
Yeah, I
for
think
that
that's just
suggestion. I appreciate
better
that.
time-wise.
I agree.
And I think also, on the agenda, we'll talk about our school committee goals.
Yes.
And I think everyone should sort of think about what they want to do.
And I had explained to Mr. Pastor that Nancy Kelly will work with food services or whatever. Food services is closed for the summer, but we'll handle lunch and we'll handle breakfast. And we looked at past agendas and they were like 8 to 1. So depending on, those were kind of the only guidelines that we pulled up from years ago. But it's completely you with Nancy, so,
Right.
yeah,
So we'll all work with Nancy and
perfect,
the time frame that the folks in Copeland and Page, that's kind of the
perfect.
number one thing. The other thing, a couple of things I want to chat about is several parents have, several elementary parents had contacted me periodically throughout the year about, frustration is a really strong word. I would say concerned that as their elementary students were getting a little older, you know, 3rd and 4th grade, that it was difficult for the parents to help with math. Math gets a little bit more complicated. It's taught very differently than we all learned. And they were interested in learning the math. And so the superintendent and I had a conversation about that idea. And so during the fall, I suggested an elementary math program, parent information night.
And I did speak with Dr. Bacon about this, and when you and I spoke, I said I knew that we had at least one family night this year, and I believe we also had one in January, so there were 2, but Dr. Bacon is open to it. It's, you know, she's already got the wheels turning, and it is different. And so to offer families and parents and guardians an evening of information and question asking, that's part of our family engagement, so absolutely.
Right. And, you know, I personally think it's a great idea, and I know from just listening to some of the parents, they know that they can't teach their children. They know that their children have to do the work, even if it's incorrect. But they also want to be available to at least help with maybe if there's some stress or anxiety around this particular math curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you taking the ball with that. Thank you very much. And then lastly for me, as we all know, Nahant approached us to welcome their incoming 6th graders to Swampscott Middle School. It's been a challenge just to get everything that legality-wise in order. And as we were getting ready just to deal with the memo of understanding, which is really straightforward, we were informed by the folks in our leadership at Copeland and Page that they also represent the town of Nahant. And state rule states that we need to agree or acknowledge that they work for both entities. And basically it's just to let everybody know, completely above board, there's no conflict of interest. And so I'm going to read this. I'm going to ask for just an acceptance of this determination. We're not agreeing to any contract, we're not doing any of that, but this is what we need to do per our legal representation. The Nahant School Committee, I was told today, has done the same thing that we're about to do. So if you folks would just indulge me for a second so I can read this. Determination, it is determined pursuant to Rule 1.7 of the Massachusetts Rules of Professional Conduct that the Swampscott School Committee consents to KP Law PC representing the Swampscott School District with regard to the memo of understanding to amend the tuition agreement as disclosed in a letter to the committee dated June 9th, 2023, notwithstanding that KP Law PC serves as counsel to and represents the Nahant School Department. So if we could take a vote of just agreeing that we have read and agree with this determination, that we acknowledge that there could potentially be a conflict of interest. That's all this is really doing. So then the next steps is they will then draft up the official MOU. So if there are any questions regarding this, I'll try to answer. John, I'm kind of asking you because just your background more than anything else.
So reading this letter,
Yeah.
You're right, it's an acknowledgement that, that they do represent both parties, as you said, and
Right.
They don't seem to see an issue with that unless there was some legal issue between the parties regarding the MOU.
Correct.
that in that case, it looks like they would
Great.
recuse themselves, and, you know, we would have to take it from there. But, you know, I think these are, you know, I've not dealt with this in a public interest context, but
Right.
I know these are, you know, in the world I deal with, these are fairly standard, just
Right.
the parties, it's basically for everyone's protection, right?
Right.
So, you know, to acknowledge this, so
Okay, thank you.
that's my feedback on that.
Suzanne, any thoughts, questions? Okay. Yeah, it's just, sometimes I just wish, as you said earlier, just write the agreement, sign it, and call it a day. However, can one of you please make a motion to accept this determination?
Make the motion.
A second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye, and there are no opposed, so this carries unanimously. We will sign this and send this off. All right, thank you, everybody. That's all I have for chair comments. Anything subcommittee on the school, from the school building committee, although I would like to say that video is really cool.
Oh,
So
the
I've
drone?
watched some of the drone video
Oh, it's
footage.
just amazing.
It's really
But
cool.
they were saying at the school building committee meeting Tuesday night that that's so outdated, and it was just last week.
I went into the building today. The cafeteria has, you exactly know what it's going to be. The windows, they're not
Just
obviously
hearing you
not.
say I went into the building.
I know.
Went into the cafeteria. The stage is huge. The room is beautiful, and the windows are just like 20-foot,
Magnificent,
just
yeah.
giant windows with these big X beams in them. But it just looks beautiful. And then.
But Trevor was saying Tuesday night that video is already,
Almost, yeah, this is the good news. The A building, the last part of
Yes.
the building is almost up.
wow.
Yeah, and it's so close to done that our steel topping ceremony is gonna be July 8th. No, July 6th.
Really?
So 2 weeks, because that they're gonna be done. They're getting the last steel delivery on the 30th of June. And the last beam is gonna go up on the 6th. So we're gonna have a topping off ceremony at, if you wanna sign the beam, we're gonna invite people. It's not gonna be open. I mean, so it's gonna be a working construction site, so it's not gonna be like the
groundbreaking,
groundbreaking. But, you know, the school committee will be invited, and mostly it's a steel workers kind of party that they like to do a topping off ceremony, and the iron workers usually sign the beam and stuff. But it's an opportunity to just sit back and just go, like it's up. And I'll have to say, like Max and I walked around the site, and as the school gets bigger, it actually looks smaller.
particularly when you walk inside it, because
Oh
when I
my
walked
God,
up
when you
those
walk
stairs
inside it.
and saw the day the second floor was poured, I said to Max, this is a small school feel.
Oh.
It's what we have been hoping for all
It
along.
really is so strange to say it. Like,
Yeah.
it's getting bigger, but on the site, it looks smaller on the site. The site looks so much more wide open, and the spaces where I was like, oh God, that's the tiniest playground. They're actually looking, it's just feeling really real.
So great.
So,
Exciting.
so yeah, so it's going up. It does look really different than the drone footage already,
Right.
which is crazy.
It's just, again, it's just great hearing you say, I'm in the building.
Yeah,
I was in the
no.
cafeteria.
They've actually started putting framing up, you know.
That's great.
So on building A, the building C, the part that went up first, there's framing.
Wow.
Yeah, and the slab on grade is what they poured on Wednesday. It's the reason we had to start early work on Wednesday, because what they do is they bring truck after truck after truck in, right? So they stopped pouring concrete probably by 1 p.m., right? They started at probably 6:30, and the guys were there till 8:30, because they have to keep brushing and blowing and doing all this stuff, right, to start it curing. So we've had these really long days, and I guess we're gonna have 10 more of them. So people who live near there, you'll get the warning when it's gonna happen. But it's been fantastic. It's so cool.
That's awesome. That's great. Anything from the tutor bargaining?
From the last time, we did have another meeting.
Yeah.
So I guess to kind of boil it down, there's a draft agreement, which we are working our way through,
Good.
trying to get agreement on the various provisions. So
Great.
we're making progress.
Excellent.
It's not quite there yet, but we're making progress.
That's good. Progress is a good thing. Okay.
So,
Go ahead,
Mr.
sorry.
Chair, I did go back because you had me questioning
Yes.
the donation.
Yeah.
On March 23rd,
Yeah.
Laura Shackman Goldman made a baseball donation
Great,
in
thank you.
his memory, so this is a different donation.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that, Ms. Angelakis. All right, the consent agenda. The consent agenda is designed to expedite the handling of routine and miscellaneous business of the district. The school committee may adopt the entire consent agenda with one motion. At the request of any committee member or members, any item or items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. This evening, we have 3 items. A is the regular session minutes of June 8th, 2023. B is the regular session minutes of May 18th, 2023. And as you alluded to, Superintendent, a donation, Laura Shackman Goldman for the Swampscott High School boys ice hockey team in memory of Alan Shackman. Everyone could, as always, just indulge me on this. The name of the donor, as I said, is Laura Shackman Goldman. The value is $500. Brief description: the donation to the Swampscott High School boys ice hockey team in memory of Alan J. Shackman, class of 1950. And I'll read the letter real quick. The purpose is for the boys ice hockey program. And if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to read this letter that Ms. Shackman Goldman sent to Kelly Wolf, athletic director. The memo head is donation to Swampscott High School boys ice hockey team in memory of Alan J. Shackman, class of 1950. Dear Kelly, please accept the enclosed donation for the Swampscott High School boys ice hockey team in memory of my father, Alan J. Shackman. My father graduated Swampscott High School in 1950. He was a captain of the Swampscott High School boys baseball and boys ice hockey teams. My father passed away on February 4th, 2023, at the age of 90. He was a staunch supporter of the Big Blue throughout his entire life. I know my father would be honored to lend his support to the Swampscott boys ice hockey team. Best regards, Laura Shackman Goldman.
So generous.
Yeah, I mean, Ms. Goldman, thank you so much on behalf of not only the committee, the entire athletic program. The generosity of both you and your father is very well appreciated, and thank you again for the heartfelt letters that you have sent us. So, can someone make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it passes completely. And with that, can someone make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
So, Suzanne, can you second?
I will second
All
that.
right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
And we are out. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the next few weeks.